You'll need a drawing or a painting surface, and in my case, I'll be using a painting surface, which is gessoed paper, and all of your materials depending on what medium you're using. In my case, I'll be using oil paints, and if you want to learn more about that, I'll leave a link below to some beginners videos on oil painting for you. And finally, you'll need your reference image that you want to transfer. The first step is to create a grid over your reference image. I usually do this in Photoshop using the guides, but if you don't have Photoshop, you can also print a copy of your image and draw the grid by hand using a ruler. I generally stick to a 4x4 grid, but you can add more rows and columns to your grid if you want a more precise transfer. Step 2 is to recreate your grid on your transfer surface. I recommend that you use the same medium you'll be rendering in for this, so if you're using paint, draw the grid in paint, or if you're using colored pencils, use a pencil or colored pencil, and so on. If you're looking to be really precise, you can use a ruler to recreate the grid on your surface. I generally like to be a lot looser when I use this method, so that I end up with something that looks more organic and unique than a tracing. So instead of a ruler, I use really basic geometry to create a super quick and loose grid. I start by drawing an X across the entire surface, connecting each corner, and this gives me a rough idea of where the center is. Then I draw a vertical and horizontal line that intersect with the center of this X. Now that I have 4 different rectangles, I just repeat the process within each one, finding the center and drawing the intersecting vertical and horizontal lines for each one. Once that's done, you can erase the X's and reveal your hand-drawn graph. Once you have the really rough version down, you can always clean it up a little bit and tighten it a little bit if it looks too wonky for you. The next step is to transfer your image one square at a time. Of course, I sped up my progress for this video, but I definitely like to slow down and really observe the shapes within each square and notice where the outlines touch the graph. And I ask questions like, is the shape above or below the midpoint of the square? Does the shape touch or come close to an edge? Remember to draw the image one square at a time, and don't worry if it looks a little wonky as you start. You'll have plenty of time to refine and tighten the sketch later. Once you've transferred all the squares, you can erase your grid and begin to refine and tighten the sketch as a whole. Continue using your original image as a reference, but allow yourself to make changes as you see fit. The nice thing about being very loose like I do is that my goal isn't to get a perfect likeness, so I don't feel as pressured to create a perfect copy of my original image. This gives me more creative freedom, and I usually end up with something that looks more organic and unique than a tracing. Here are a few examples of projects where I've used this method. In some of these, it's a little bit harder to see the original graph on there, but you'll notice it mostly in the background of the image. Hey! Trying to be quiet because it's nighttime and I feel like my neighbor can hear everything I'm saying. I hope you learned something from this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also check out my new personal channel that I just started like a week or 2 ago. I have 3 videos up so far and I plan to keep posting on there. So if you are interested in getting to know me better and seeing other sides to my creativity and my life, go ahead and check that out. Also remember to look at all of the relevant links that I'm gonna leave in the description, all about oil painting, the other transfer videos that I might have, and anything else that's important that you might want to know. Remember to follow me on my social media, which will be showing up in just a few seconds, and that's all I have. I hope you guys have a great one, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Wow.